And look what we have. Oh, the logo's on both sides.
You gave me the old one.
Yeah, but we're vibing because we each have one. This is the, well, I don't think they sell these to the public.
They should.
They should, because they're amazing. But we have our Boardroom Game Cafe mugs. So shout out to the Boardroom Game Cafe for being
I wonder if those are just more expensive to like produce.
I don't know. These are the ones that you get when you're like at the cafe. This is what they to drink out of, and then those are the ones you could buy. Yeah. But I think they started to sell these, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways. Welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games
and
never shooting video in our studio.
Yeah, so if you're like, don't you guys have like a brand new studio? The answer to that question is yes, but here's another answer for you. It's been storming for a month.
This winter,
just about. This winter,
the worst winter I've ever seen here.
It's insanity. And so last time I was in the studio, I knew the storm was coming, so I brought the camera home with me. So if the lighting sucks, if everything is crooked, I'm sorry. We're doing how do you say, our best. But anyways, yeah, it's like an ice rink out there.
You're what the French call
les incompetents. Exactly. And we didn't have power this morning.
We didn't have power this morning.
And our internet's being wackadoodle.
Our internet is being wackadoodle.
Hi. Anyways, we're back for another board game snapshot. So for anybody that doesn't know,
that was a winter baja.
Yeah.
Not a summer baja.
No, even though you would think the winter baja would be a bigger baja because it's hockey. And it's winter.
It has to do with enthusiasm, I feel.
It has to do with passion.
Yeah. I'm not passionate in the winter.
The winter sucks.
I'm just in survival mode in the winter.
Exactly. Me too. Anyways, so we are doing board game snapshots, and for anybody that doesn't know, it's 5 mini reviews of games that we have been playing recently. If any of the games have been sent to us for review, we will let you know. Now, obviously, we don't have the games here with us today because we're not at the studio, and that's where they all are. So, the first game up on our list today is going to be one that we have been wanting to play and meaning to review for a very long time, and that is Monumental.
Oh, yeah, it's been on the shelf for a while.
It's been on the shelf for a while. And this one was, I believe, originally sent to us from Flat River Group.
Yes.
But so it was sent to us for review. We just played the base game of Monumental. But we have all of the expansions, but we don't have the dual. Somebody asked if we had the dual version, but no. So we played this. We just had a board game weekend with our friend. Well, board game day, afternoon. Good afternoon.
It just got slowly...
Weekend, day, afternoon with Tristan and Zach. So we played this at a 4-player count. For anybody that doesn't know, I didn't know anything about Monumental before I played it.
I didn't either.
This is a deck building, kind of like area control style game. And it's deck building and almost like engine building, tableau building a little bit. So what's really unique about it is how it works is you put out from your personal deck a 3x3 grid of cards in front of you, and then on your turn you decide to activate one row and one column. Correct. And typically those are giving you different types of resources. There's production, military, and knowledge or science, and then special abilities. And culture. And yeah, culture and gold is another. Gold's a wild resource. Anyways, you're tapping your cards, you're doing the thing. Now, any of the resources that you get during your turn, unless they're the cardboard resources, you have to use right away. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's also really interesting about kind of like
use it or lose it, bucko.
Exactly. So production's allowing you to buy different types of cards to add to your deck. Then there's going to be the science that allows you to buy the knowledge cards that get added to your deck. Or there's also monuments that you can build, and you build those with production, and usually it takes like 2 rounds or 2 turns, unless you could pay for it all up front. And then the monuments, it's like the 7 wonders and beyond. There's like 3 eras of stuff you can actually then put out onto the board.
Yep.
And the last thing is military, that allows you to move your units around the map. And there's not really any like fighting in this, but you can overtake somebody's territory.
Yeah, it's just more so, do you have more presence?
Exactly. And that's something that I really enjoyed about this game, is how simple that was. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, do you have equal to or more than troops? Then great, you can conquer this territory. It was very straightforward
Yeah, it was.
for that. And so that is another big part of it, is you're going around the map and you're trying to overtake and overcome different territories, essentially, and then that's
Regions,
also
yeah.
going to get you different resources. That's like basically the game, and you're just playing through 3 eras, which is just cards, and the game length is going to depend on how quickly people are acquiring new cards to add to your deck. So the question is, did we like it?
Yeah, I'm just going to throw out one thing Jamie kind of, I don't want to say missed because that seems negative, but there is a slight asymmetry, slight variable player
Yeah.
powers in this. Each player has a leader.
I was Mulan.
Jamie was Mulan. I was Heracles. There's some like later characters as well. There's like a Tesla character, and they all
Those are heroes. Yeah.
they all have like their own special, unique ability. When you take over territories and stuff. I enjoyed it. Felt like it played long. It's kind of this mashup of Small World, Seven Wonders, and I'm trying to think of that game that's got like the grid.
We were talking about it.
So like Akrotiri has a similar
Maybe.
track grid thing, I think, and also Targi. You know what I mean? With like the
Yeah.
it's got these little elements of a bunch of different games. It felt like. I will say Jamie enjoyed the battle mechanism, which I do appreciate when a battle mechanism is straightforward and simple.
Streamlined.
But
yeah.
that one felt a little bit too simple for me.
Because it wasn't really fighting. It was more so like.
Yeah, you would just be like, all right, I have more troops than you. You need to leave. And
But we didn't infringe on each other very much.
No, and we played it a 4-player game, which seems like kind of weird. Like, we didn't really interact with each other until like the very end of the game. And I don't know. It was fine. I think it was fine. But it's also, again, it's in a realm of games I very much enjoy. I love troops on a map games and war games and that sort of thing. So
yeah.
I think if you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit lighter fare, but gives you that kind of skirmishy feel, then this is probably a good one to grab. I'd like to play it again, and I'd like to play it at 3-player.
Yeah.
To see if that
Cuts down the time.
reduces the length of time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's always going to be AP and stuff that impacts these gameplays as well. So that's not the game's fault. But yeah, I thought it was fine.
I really liked it. I do think that I would also like to try it at 3. And now after playing it, I would play it so differently my next time around, because I didn't focus on building up my deck, and I wasn't getting enough resources, and I wasn't getting enough powerful turns. And so I don't think that I played it in a way that was like optimal in any way, shape, or form. But I actually really liked it. I thought like it was really unique. I haven't really, like, the way that the actions...
You thought it was unique?
I did, yeah. The way that the actions kind of, like, triggered with how you're building your deck. And I don't know. I personally really enjoyed it. And I definitely want to play it again.
Yeah, I mean, I also think, too, like, it was good wherein it was a 4-player game. And sometimes you can have a runaway leader or runaway winner in that sort of game when it's at that player count. But the spread was actually pretty tight. Which is interesting, but yeah, and then like I think we should mention at the end of the game you're scoring like how many territories you control, how many monuments you have, and then the majority of all of these different like things gets a bonus.
Additional.
It's
points.
like it's very simplistic.
Yeah.
The scoring's simplistic. All of the actions are simplistic. Like it's
not
It's very light, mid, and I would say leans on the lighter side for sure. I don't think there's a lot.
There's just a lot of choices to make during the game, but learning it and stuff.
Yeah, once you figure out the iconography, it's easy peasy.
Yeah. Jeffy, the next one that we played this weekend was The Last Will.
Yes.
Would you like to tell the people about The Last Will, which we finally got to play, and it was not sent to us. We purchased this one.
Yeah. Last Will is a condensed version of Prodigal's Club, essentially. What do I mean by that? It is a worker placement action selection tableau builder where you are thematically trying to become the biggest POS that you can. By, I guess, less in this game.
Yeah, this one's just about getting rid of your
less
money.
becoming a POS in this game, more so just trying to get rid of all of your assets.
Yeah.
So in this game, you're going to be effectively like bidding on how many actions you're going to take, how many cards you're going to get to draw, and how many worker placement spots you're allowed to utilize during that round. And that's all done in turn order through kind of like, it's not bidding, but like basically if I'm first player, I get to pick first. And again, it's this area between 1 and 6, I believe. And like, that's going to determine future turn order. So if you go first, your actions might be limited and you might not get as many cards, but you're going to get to be first next turn into where you put your worker placement pawns out. So there's kind of this decision space there. And then what you're doing is taking actions based off of the tableau in front of you. So in your tableau, you're going to be building estates, which you can depreciate and sell for money and all of these things. There's like characters or like
special guests.
Yes, that you can put out that are, maybe it's like a reservation card. So every time you activate it, you get rid of $4 because you're going to do dinner or something like that. You can play out all of these cards. You can build out your tableaus. You can take more actions. It's really about action economy in this game. And then it's just a race to get rid of your money first. First person to get rid of your money wins, unless everyone gets to round 7, and then it becomes whoever just has the least amount of money left. But if at any point someone before round 7 loses all of their money, then they win outright.
Yeah.
And again, it's very, and I should mention, the worker placement spots are very much like get a card to add to your hand, to add to your tableau.
Yeah.
Get rid of money.
Yep. Extend your board.
Like very simplistic. And again, just like in Monumental, it's another game where it's very straightforward once you understand what the iconography is. This game would definitely benefit to have a little player aid. If it had a player aid, I think this would be a very, very easy game to introduce people to Prodigal's Club, which is a more robust experience.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this as well is you can actually add it into the Prodigal's Club if you want an even beefier version. So the Prodigal's Club, I would consider like a heavy game.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot to learn. Like once you get into it, it's like, oh, everything makes sense. But this is just like a very condensed version of it, and it was fantastic. It plays quicker. It's just kind of like, instead of doing 3 or 4 different sections in the Prodigal's Club, you're just kind of working on one thing. Now, do I love it as much as the Prodigal's Club? No. But I love it. And if I want a quick version of the Prodigal's Club, that's what I'm going to play. And what I really want to do is
play with both.
Yeah,
I also loved Last Will. I just struggle to understand where it fits. Because I'm thinking like, if I want to play Prodigal's Club with someone, I'll just set up and play Prodigal's Club. Because I don't think it's that difficult. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's the action selection spaces in Prodigal's Club are not that difficult to understand. There's a lot of board space and a lot you need to understand. But like, I don't know where Last Will fits, because like, I don't want to play Last Will with someone that has never played a board game, because that's going to be troublesome. But I don't think there's a group of people that I can think of that I wouldn't just play Prodigal's Club with instead of Last Will. Yeah, that's a good point. If you're short on time and you want a quicker experience but still want to play something thematically similar, this is a great one. Or if you do have a group of people that you're like, hey, I just don't feel like
you're
ready for Prodigal's Club, but let's try this, and then that will be a good...
Yeah.
But I just don't know how big of a group that is.
Yeah, if you've got people that are like, oh, I really want you to teach me the Prodigal's Club, and you're like, I don't know if you're going to like it. Let's play Last Will. And if they're like, I don't really like this, then at least you didn't waste like an hour and a half teaching the Prodigal's Club.
Thinking about it, I feel like Last Will, if I was at a convention, and I mean, time is a premium at any convention.
I would play
Yeah, and someone was like, but it also depends. Like, if I was with like Nick, and Nick wanted to play Prodigal's Club, I would. Different. But like, if someone new and we hadn't played games before, and they were like, hey, I know you love Prodigal's Club, like, I would love to play it with you. Like, I'd be like, hey, great, let's play Last Will instead. Yeah. Because again, to Jamie's point, like, let's see if you like it, and then if we do eventually have the time, then we'll bring out the Prodigal's Club. But like, Last Will's a quicker, because I mean, we played that
It was pretty quick
Yeah.
with teach and
Mhm.
everything. The teach is pretty straightforward. The only thing, like Jeff said, is God couldn't use a reference card.
It really could.
There's so many different. There's
Honestly,
so
so
much
could
iconography.
Prodigals Club.
Yes.
Let's be honest. Every game should have one. I very, very much liked Last Will. I think it might have been my favorite game that we played Saturday.
Yeah, same for sure.
Mhm.
I just want to play it all together and just really get wild with
Yeah,
it.
I'm interested to see how that works.
All right, I interrupt today's video for a message from today's sponsor, Kuhn Games, and today we're going to be talking about Shadows, Heroes, and Monsters. Shadows, Heroes, and Monsters is returning to Kickstarter with a second edition. Discover this competitive hybrid collectible card game for 2 to 3 players who are brought together by a mysterious portal that connects different ages, technologies, items, magic, and species in a fierce battle for riches and glory. Each hero has their own agenda, and playing your cards well will gain your hero experience and gold, empowering their abilities and earning more of the powerful Shadow Stones, mysterious stones that possess unlimited energy. There's never been a better time to confront the most dangerous monsters and dragons anyone has ever seen, because it's all together in one box with endless replayability and no booster packs. Shadows, Heroes, and Monsters is returning to Kickstarter between February and March, so make sure that you click the link in the description to follow along the campaign so you don't miss any of the updates and you don't miss the Kickstarter. Shout out to Kuhn Games for sponsoring this portion of today's video, and like I said, all the information and everything that you need is in the description below. All right, just so you know, I have a different co-host right now. Speaking of heroes and monsters. All right, the next one on the list is one that we actually got to play a while ago when I had to label it Secret Fish Game.
Oh, Secret Fish Game.
Yeah,
yes.
Secret Fish Game. And people are like, what's Secret Fish Game? And I said, I can't tell you, it's a secret, you wouldn't understand.
Yep.
You wouldn't understand? I wouldn't understand, or it's a secret?
Mm-hmm.
It's a secret, Michael.
Yeah.
You wouldn't understand. And that's Finspan. So Finspan is obviously the newest game from STONEMAIER Games in the Wingspan kind of like anthology.
Yeah.
Discography, if you will. So for anybody that doesn't know, which I'm sure is everybody, Wingspan is the first game. It's about birds. Then we got Wormspan, and that's about dragons and stuff. And now we have Finspan, which is about fish. It is not designed by Elizabeth Hargrave, but is heavily inspired by her original design. So we got to play this very early on, and I recently played it solo as well, and actually I will have a solo playthrough coming on the channel soon, so stay tuned for that. But I do just want to mention before we get into all of this that we are working with STONEMAIER Games this year to do a bunch of playthroughs and stuff, which are sponsored, but this is not a sponsored portion of the video, just so everybody knows. But it was sent to us for review. So now in Finspan, what you are doing is you are basically doing one of two things. You're what?
That's delicious.
I know, Jeff. We have this caramel instant coffee. We usually get the vanilla one. There's a vanilla hazelnut and the caramel's new. But this is the one.
Yeah,
this is the one.
Definitely agree.
Anyways, in Finspan, you are playing over 4 weeks, so 4 rounds. And on your turn, you can literally do one of two things. You can play a fish, or you can dive on the board. And your hand of fish is always face up in front of you, so everybody knows what you got going on. But in order to play a fish, there's going to be some kind of a cost that you have to pay. And then many of the fish will have some sort of a when played effect or an if activated, which is very similar to Wingspan, of course, like the brown cards. But that's all you're doing. When you dive, you are diving down, and if you have a fish in that particular zone, then you're going to get whatever benefit is on that section. You're going to continue on the 3 zones. It's so
as well as
straightforward.
the activating the fish.
Yes, if it has an if activated, exactly. And so each round you're going to be scoring different things. It might be round 1, at the end of round 1, you're scoring how many eggs and young you have. And at the end of round 2, maybe it's how many rows of fish you have. So really what you're trying to do is build out a little fish engine in front of you so that you can get as many points as possible by the end of the game. In the solo game, which I just played, you were playing against an automa, of course, but what I want to say is because some people really shy away from like automas because like, is it going to be a lot of work? This was one of the most straightforward It's called the Nautima because of nautical.
Mm.
One of the most straightforward like automas I've ever had. You flip a card, and whatever the card says is what you do.
I do think STONEMAIER has one of the best developed automa systems. I think anytime there's an automa system in a STONEMAIER game, it's good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And this one is not only good, but it's easy, which is very helpful. And there's multiple levels that you can play. So that's really like what Finspan is. And in terms of whether or not we like it, I just want to say like, I love Finspan. I actually think Finspan is the new entry point into the Wingspan series because it is so streamlined.
Yeah.
It is so straightforward. Everything is very clear. There's an excellent reference card. Yep. And you just have 2 actions that you can do. Like, that's it. And then there's a few other little rules, like each fish can only have 1 egg. 3 young fish get together, they make a school. There you go. Anyways, I just think it's great. I love it. And if I'm, like, ranking them, now Wingspan is always going to be my number 1. If I'm ranking them in terms of how I'm introducing them to people, I'm putting Finspan in front of them first.
Sure.
Then Wingspan, then Wormspan.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, and my favorite's still Wingspan, but my second favorite's now Finspan and then Wormspan. Because Wormspan's great, but it definitely adds a lot more, whereas this one kind of like takes it down a little bit.
Yeah, I also very much like Finspan. I think I prefer Wormspan the most, just because it's the most game. Now, what's interesting for me is I love Wingspan.
Yeah.
And I still love Wingspan, and I love playing Wingspan. But I think I now prefer Finspan. But I don't know if that's because it's the new game, and I've played so much Wingspan that it's just that kind of like it's just time. The thing I really, really do though enjoy about Finspan the most is how in Wingspan you have eggs, and you're putting eggs on birds, and those eggs are currency, but they don't really do anything outside of that. You're just collecting eggs. In Finspan, they took that mechanism but made it dynamic, wherein like you actually want to move your little fishies around because then they make schools of fish, which are more than 1 baby fish, and you also need them for food. Like, they're more dynamic in what you can use those resources to do, unlike eggs. Yeah, they're utilized as food. They're utilized as victory points. They're utilized to get bigger fish out on the board. And like, there's different like, I really like the layers aspect of the game, and also just like there's combinations you can do if like certain fish types are next to each other with their colored borders and stuff. There's just a lot of more decision space, I think, here, but I don't know how to say this, but like more streamlined. Like, it's an easier game, but there's more to do.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
You have to balance your resources more in this because the fish and the young are, the eggs and the young are resources to get new fish out, but there's also going to be scoring conditions where you're like, oh, well, it's not time to hatch the eggs yet because I need to score them, and I don't want to put the young together yet because I don't score schools of fish until round 3 or whatever it might be. And so you're trying to like see what fish you have, and the stack of fish is huge. So
I think what I'm trying to articulate is in Finspan there's more to do, but it's easier to do well in it.
Yeah. I agree.
And Wingspan, I feel like there's a bit less to do with all of the stuff, but it's much easier to do very poorly. With bird draws and like whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I very much like Finspan. I just don't know. I think it's my number 1 right now, but again, I just don't know if that's because it's the new game or if it just is something I prefer playing over Wingspan.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to do like a game day review-a-palooza thing where we play all 3. Yeah. Back to back.
Yeah, I desperately want to play Wormspan again.
Same, it's been a long time.
We played it when it like first came out, and I do think that one's still my favorite, but I would like to play it again to reaffirm that. But yeah, Finspan's great. It's great. They're all great.
They're all great.
Depending on what you're looking for.
Jeff, would you like to tell the people about Donuts?
Sure.
Which was sent to us for review.
Who sent it? I don't remember.
I think they're called FUNFORGE. It came through Flat River.
Cool. Donuts is I think it's only 2-player.
Yep. I'm pretty sure.
Is a 2-player abstracty type game where you are trying to get 5 donuts in a row. Pretty straightforward. How this game changes up that dynamic is on the board, each space is going to have 2 colors in it. So it might be like this, where this side is white and this side is pink, and there's a diagonal line in between it. So if you place a donut in that space where the line is diagonal, that means your opponent then has to place their donut in that diagonal line somewhere on the board, as long as it's in that diagonal. Conversely, there's spaces that have a straight line or a vertical line, and then you have to place your donut in that line or in that row or column.
Yeah.
Designated by where your opponent had placed their donut. There are also some other little nuances to this game. So let's say, for example, I place a donut down and you're supposed to be able to play it in that vertical column, but you can't because all the spaces are taken up. There's a word for it that I'm not recalling, but in the game there's a word for this where you get to basically say, well, I'm going to place it anywhere.
Donut.
Does that make sense? So if you can't place in the column or row or wherever that you're supposed to, you then get to place your donut anywhere on the board, which is a great position to be in. Because remember, you're trying to get 5 of your donuts in a row. The other little caveat here where the game gets really spicy is if you place a donut in between 2 of your opponents.
Opponents.
That's very good, actually.
Yeah.
If you place your donut in between 2 of your opponents, you then flip their donuts to your color.
Yeah.
So then you all suddenly have 3 in a row. And that's the whole game. The first person to get 5 in a row wins the game. Through all of those kind of like abstracty nuances of placing donuts out. But that's it. That's the game. This
is for fans of Boop.
It's for fans of Boop. It's got like some DNA of like Boop. Also like, oh my God, what's that? Oh my God, I played it with Max a ton. It's something 2-player. It's got the Debin. Sobek. It's got DNA of Sobek 2-player where like depending on where you place your tile out, that allows the opponent to place it in certain places. It's in that genre of game. Yeah. So if you like that type of game, you will like Donuts. Yeah. It is also on BGA. You can feel free to go try it for free if you want. Yep. I think it's a great game. If you like that style of 2-player abstracty 1v1 type stuff, which we very much do. It doesn't take a long time to play. It does not take a long time. It does not take a lot of brain power. It is very much a coffee game, coffee table game, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Easy to learn, hard to master style game. Easy to learn, hard to master. There's some weirdness to it the first couple times you play it, just understanding how the donuts flip if a tile is placed and all of these things, but it's very, very straightforward and very enjoyable. And it's a beautiful little production for what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's very pretty, very simple, small box, like, it's like a patchwork size box. And I love a good abstract strategy game. Not great at it though. Just like I'm not good at Boop and just like I'm not good at Santorini. So if those are games that you also suck at, you might not be great at this one either. Because it's all about like visually, it's like very spatial awareness. And it's like, okay, well, if I do this and suddenly 2 things turn over, you're like, oh, what have I done? You want to get your opponent into a position where they're allowing you to place your donut anywhere. Yeah. Or by forcing them to place out 2 donuts so you can put yours in the middle. Exactly. And the last one we have to talk about today is Rebel Princess. And we have a house divided. We do have a house divided on Rebel Princess. So, Rebel Princess is a game from BEZIER Games that is a trick-taking game. And it is based off of spades. I think it's either spades or hearts. So like classic trick-taking game, which means this is going to be a great game if you have members of your family who are familiar with classic trick-taking games. So in this game, everybody gets to select a princess that they get to act as, and that princess has a special ability that can be used once per round. The game is going to be between 3 and 5 rounds, depending if you want a shorter game or a longer game.
each round, you are going to be flipping up the round card and is going to give some sort of a special rule that will apply to that round. So, and then it's also going to tell you how many cards you need to pass and in which direction. So you're going to have your hand of cards and then you're going to pass. So it might be that you have to play 2 cards at a time instead of 1. It might be like whatever. There's just there's a stack of them, a bunch of different rules. Then you are playing a standard trick-taking game. It is a must-follow. There is no trump suit, but what you want to do in this game is be the closest to 0. What you don't want, you can win tricks, that's fine, but what you don't want to do is win tricks that have princes in them. These are rebel princesses, and they do not want to get married.
Correct.
So all of the princes have little skulls on them. And then we have the frog prince, who is the 8 of greens. And he has 5 skulls. Glenn. Exactly. And you really don't want that. So
you don't want Glenn.
No. So you're going to be scoring points based on the skulls that you collect each round. Now, like I said, everybody has a princess, and all of those princesses have a special ability that they can trigger during a round on their turn. Usually the princesses will tell you what they can do. It's everything from like, okay, lowest number card wins, or I choose who leads the suit, or different types of things. And I would say that the princess's abilities are of varying maybe complexity and varying usefulness. So as an example, in the last game that we played, I was the Little Mermaid, and I felt like my power, I didn't use it one time. And mine was that you get to choose what suit starts. Now, it didn't feel useful for me because I am still not that great at understanding trick-taking games fully. But I feel like somebody like you, because at the end, Jeff was like, oh, if you knew that I had this 9 of green because I passed it to him, then I could have...
There's definitely some situations where it would have been beneficial for Jamie to do it, but she didn't identify that it would have been beneficial.
I didn't know. But that's the game, basically, and whoever has the least amount of points at the end of the game is going to win. Now, what I will say is this game is very mean.
Yes.
You can load people up with skulls, so if you don't like a mean game, this might not be for you. Now, this is where I say that this is a house divided, because I quite enjoy this game a lot, and I know a lot of people have been really enjoying it and having a lot of fun with it.
You go first.
So, I really like it. I think that because the concept of the game is easy for me to understand. This is a trick-taking game. It's a must-follow. There's no trump suit. And then there's a few special rules that get thrown around. My biggest critique is that some of the round cards are really confusing. Maybe it's just the way that they're worded in the rule book. I don't know.
I think it's that.
But like there was one that we were all like sitting there being like, I don't really know how this works.
We ended up having to just come to an agreement on the interpretation of it.
Which is also fine. You could just do that. And like I said, I find some of the princesses to be more useful than others, and that could just be game by game dependent. I think this game is beautiful. Like, I love the artwork. I think because you can choose the length of game, I like that you could play a shorter game versus a longer game, and I have fun playing a nice mean card game. But it's going to depend on who's around the table, because not everybody enjoys being mean.
So obviously when Jamie mentions we're a house divided, that means I'm not a huge fan. I understand that objectively this is a great game. I understand why people like it a lot. I just think I'm a little bit harder or critique trick-taking games a little bit more aggressively, I think, than some people, because it's one of my favorite genres of game. And there's some really, really, really good trick-taking games that exist. I understand why people like this. What I don't like about it is something about it feels a bit too random. And people are probably going to disagree with me, but that's just my limited experience playing this game. Is like, there just seems to be like, I find sometimes I have no agency, where I'm just like, I'm going to take all of the skulls and there's nothing I can do about it. And even those little variable princess powers don't really seem to help with that. Now, again, I want to keep playing it because I love the art. I love the way it plays. I just feel like I need to play it more to see if I can figure out, it could very much be a me problem, is what I guess I'm trying to say, is I might not be seeing the way to be effective at this game, because in both times I've played this game, I've gotten utterly destroyed. And
which also doesn't help.
And it's not something like I don't care about necessarily losing this game, but there's been moments of frustration where I'm like, I literally can't get out of this hole.
Yeah.
Like I can't get ahead of these people that are just gonna dump these princes onto me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, maybe I'm just not seeing it yet.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't really been enjoying it. More so because I don't feel like I've figured it out yet.
Yeah.
But maybe there's just no figuring it out. Maybe it just doesn't click with my brain. Mm-hmm. But I play a lot of trick-taking games. And I feel like if there's any mechanism I'm confident in, it's trick-taking. And for some reason, I'm just not getting that with this game. But again, I understand objectively it's great. It's beautiful production, and people love it. And that's totally valid.
Yeah. I do also think that this game does, like what Jeff just said, how he's been getting demolished. I do think this game has a tendency for everybody to pick on one person, which isn't really super fun. And it's not that you're necessarily doing it on purpose, but sometimes like that is just how the hands fall. And if you are the one that is constantly getting the princes thrown at you, it doesn't feel very good. And I do wonder too, because we're like, if you play a shorter game versus a longer game, like do you have more of a chance of getting out of that hole playing a longer game? I don't know.
I just think it's one of those things too where, and again, I want to be clear, Root is my favorite game of all time, and it's a very similar thing like that. Like, you can get bullied in Root, and that happens. So it's not like that part of Rebel Princess upsets me. Like, I'm used to playing games where that happens.
Yeah.
But I just feel like after one round, if I've taken like all the princes and like
the green frog,
the frog,
yeah,
I'm probably not winning that game.
Right.
And then there's 4 more rounds of me just going through the motions of, because like if you get like a -10 round, like you're pretty much out of it,
right,
already.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but again, I just need to play it more to see if that continues to be the thing I notice.
Yeah. And play through more of the different princesses, maybe find the ones you like and all of that stuff. I know that our friend Ben really struggled with Mulan.
Right.
And I had fun playing with another one. So Jeff was Pocahontas when we played this weekend. And I think I've been Cinderella before.
Pocahontas was great. Pocahontas lets you pick who leads this
that's
trick,
really good. So that you can at least go last, which is nice. But anyways, I think with more plays, you can love it more. Maybe not. Who's to say?
Yeah, again, it's not a game I want to stop playing. I want to keep playing it to see if I can figure out. Now, if I play it like 3 or 4 more times and I'm like, no, then I'm probably going to be like, okay, yeah, this is not one for me, but I understand why you like it.
Yeah, and like I said, if you have family members who are very familiar with spades and hearts and those types of games, this could be a really great one to introduce to them.
Agreed.
So, my friends, those are 5 more games that we have been playing recently and what we think about them. We'd love to know in the comments below. Have you played them? What do you think about them? We'd love to know. Please do tell us. But that's everything we have for today. So if you're interested in buying board games like any of the many we mentioned today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is
the Boardroom Game Cafe.
Remember we used to always do that during Board Games and Brew?
Remember how I used to pick it up like this?
Yeah, I do. And it would drive me nuts because I didn't want you to drop it. If you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye.
There it is.
My chair is still broken, just so everybody knows.
Jamie does that, and it doesn't even move my chair. I think it's just a nervous tick.
Maybe. I just want you closer to me. That's all.
She's using that as an opportunity to suck up.
Ready?
Yeah.
I know that the lighting is going to be terrible. It's going to be on my mind this whole time. 1 sec.
It's dark.
Yeah, I got to grab that light.
Jamie's freaking out over the lighting. Go figure.
Well, because it's going to be really bad. And since I literally have a light right here, why wouldn't we just use the light? We have Nandor, the Relentless. Good boy. Andy. Length check. Puppy.
back to your pillow.